Good evening. Welcome to Recovering Perfectionist Mama, Grace in Progress. It has been a while, guys. I'm really sorry. Life got in the way. Had some responsibilities that I had to take care of, but I'm back and I am so excited to be able to speak to you all again and be doing my podcast again. You all have literally shown up for me, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. So today we're going to talk about the difference between discernment and anxiety. There is a difference between discernment and anxiety, and a lot of people have trouble differentiating the difference between the two. Hopefully this podcast will give you some insight and some actionable tips and strategies, which is what we're known for, to be able to help you know the difference. But if you've lived through prolonged stress, trauma, or survival mode, that line can blur until you don't trust any inner signal anymore. You start questioning everything. You replay decisions, you pray for clarity, and you wait for certainty that never comes. And eventually, the question isn't, what should I do? It's, can I trust myself at all? And honestly, if you can't trust yourself, who can you trust? And I'm not saying that that is a end-all be-all, because honestly, I feel like we've all had scenarios where we felt like that. Like, can I trust my intuition? Can I trust what I'm feeling? Am what I am feeling and reading the situation, am I reading it correctly? So yes, it can be a spiral. It can be an issue where you're not sure where to turn, who to trust, if you can even trust yourself and your own intuition and your own feelings, because you're afraid that you might be lying to yourself. That's what we're talking about today, guys. So why women lose trust in their discernment? Most women who struggle with this are not impulsive. They are hyper-responsible. They were taught to anticipate consequences, to keep others safe, and to avoid mistakes at all costs, or perfectionism, which, as you know, Recovering Perfectionist Mama, we cover a lot of perfectionism topics, just because the high-achieving people, the people who are conscientious, generally struggle with these issues. Over time, that responsibility morphs into hypervigilance, which can also happen if you are a trauma survivor. Trauma survivors literally develop hypervigilance as a way to protect themselves and feel like they're keeping themselves safe and keeping those around them safe. You stop listening forward and start listening backward, filtering every decision through fear of regret. That's not wisdom, that's survival wearing a halo. Anxiety as a false prophet. Anxiety always claims urgency. It frames itself as foresight, preparedness, intuition. But listen closely to its tone, because it's actually a deceiver. It actually creates more harm sometimes than good. It can create like anxiety upon anxiety, right? You know that feeling when you have somatic issues going along with your anxiety. Anxiety catastrophizes, before evidence appears. It's like Stuart Little, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, before the sky even starts falling. It treats uncertainty as danger. Uncertainty can be hard to deal with. I'm a person that doesn't like uncertainty. I want certainty. I want to know answers, which is why I'm a person that struggles with anxiety, because I want to be in control. But guess what? Control is just an illusion, because ultimately we're never going to have control over everything. And that's where we need to deal with the battlefield of the mind. We need to figure out what works for us and how we can tame the dragon called anxiety. And it assumes responsibility for outcomes you don't control. It says, if you don't act now, something terrible will happen and it will be your fault. That's not fair, right? It's almost like anxiety is your bully. Anxiety is making you do bidding that you don't want to do. And that's not fair, because you don't have all the facts. We don't know what's going to happen. But our mind immediately runs to the worst case scenario. And I think that a lot of humans are that way. I'm not calling anyone out because I myself, my husband has joked that I should create a jump to conclusions map. So there you go. Because I'm really good at jumping to conclusions sometimes because my mind can be a place that just does what it wants to do. That voice feels moral, but it's not discernment. It's fear trying to maintain control. Discernment's emotional signature. Discernment often surprises people because it can coexist with discomfort. It may say, this is hard, this is costly, this is sad, but it does not say, hurry, you're running out of time, panic now, ask questions later. Does not say that. Discernment allows room for prayer, for counsel, for sleep, for delay. It doesn't collapse your nervous system, it steadies it. Key distinction. To repeat slowly. Anxiety hijacks your body, which is why you feel your heart racing, which sometimes you feel like your mouth is dry, why sometimes you feel like you might have to go to the restroom. Embarrassing side effect, but I know people that experience it. I personally experience that sometimes when I get so stressed and so worked up. Racing thoughts definitely kind of get you on offensive where you're heavy breathing and just kind of overwhelmed with everything. So discernment anchors it. Let's talk about trauma and the distortion of intuition. When you've been hurt, betrayed, or blindsided, your nervous system learns a rule. Never, ever be caught off guard again. So it starts scanning for threats everywhere. In tone, in silence, in facial expressions, in possibilities that haven't happened. Like if your spouse is late, why are they late? Oh my gosh, I bet they got into a car accident. Oh my gosh, I bet, they were robbed. Or, any number of scenarios that go into the deepest recesses of our minds and our deepest fears are being realized. We're like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And it just spirals. This doesn't make you dramatic. It makes you adapted. But adaptation can distort perception. Trauma doesn't erase discernment. It overlays it with noise. So you kind of have to dig through the muck and the mud and figure out what's actually going on and what is just your worst fears. And ultimately, if you're able to kind of calm down your nervous system a little bit, you can get back to being a little bit more rational rather than emotional because, obviously being emotional doesn't solve anything, which I tend to be a feeling person and an emotional person sometimes as well. So no judgment here from me. As you all know, I'm not a person to judge other people because I have my own struggles, as we all do. And I want you all to know that I'm here for you. And I understand what you're going through because I've been through it myself. I do things that I know that I shouldn't do. Like I overthink things constantly. Overthinkers Anonymous here, card carrying member. So I totally get it, right? No judgment from me. Why overthinking feels virtuous, but it isn't. Overthinking often masquerades as responsibility. It feels like diligence, faithfulness, humility. But here's the hard truth and the honest truth. And I've told you I will be honest with you 100%. Overthinking is often an attempt to outmanage uncertainty. But we can't outmanage uncertainty because not everything is going to be certain. And that's the thing that's frustrating, especially for those that are overthinkers. We have anxiety. We just get worked up on things that just stress us out, and we overthink and overthink and overthink and overthink. And uncertainty is not a moral failure. It's part of being human because we're not going to know everything at every given time. Discernment accepts uncertainty. Anxiety tries to eliminate it. So let's talk about the bodily test. Ask your body, not your thoughts. After sitting with a decision, notice these things. Does your chest soften or tighten? Does your breathing slow or shorten? Do you feel clearer or more frantic? Discernment may not feel happy, but it feels settled. Anxiety always leaves residue. Always. Whether it's racing heart, whether it's bathroom issues, whether it's panting, breathing, racing thoughts, it's always left its residue and its signature, which is leaving you unsettled. Faith reframed. God's guidance is consistent with his character. If you are a person of faith, you believe that, most likely. Scripture shows us waiting, wrestling, silence, patience. God does not weaponize fear to get obedience. Conviction is clear. Shame is chaotic. Shame can convict you of things because you feel guilty for something. Shame can be hard to deal with. Shame can be embarrassing. Shame can be painful, right? Conviction is clear. Shame is chaotic. God does not rush wounded people. Repeat slowly. If the voice is frantic, condemning, or threatening, pause. Because that's not where you need to be or where you need to go in your mind. Let's talk about relearning trust without grand gestures. You don't rebuild trust in yourself through big decisions. You rebuild it through noticing when anxiety was wrong, noticing when patience helped, and noticing when waiting brought clarity. Trust grows through evidence, not affirmation. Let your life show you what's true. Let your gut feeling, let your intuition guide you. We all have intuition at some point. We all have people we can lean on and we can trust. If there's a period of time where you're struggling with being able to trust yourself, consult one of your trusted friends or your trusted family members who knows you and knows what you're capable of and what you're about. So let's talk about reclaiming authority gently. You are not broken. You are not spiritually dull. You are not missing God. You are learning to separate wisdom from fear. And that is a big feat to take on. It's not going to happen overnight. But day by day, you keep pushing through and working through it. You can do it. I have faith in you, right? We all have to go through this at some point, trying to figure out like how to navigate certain emotions and certain things that steal our breath at times. And that is holy work. Discernment doesn't demand perfection. It invites presence. If this episode gave you language for something you felt but couldn't name, share it with someone who carries quiet doubt. And remember, clarity does not rush. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I hope that you will come back and see us again at Recovering Perfectionist Mama, Grace in Progress. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.